So, let me tell you something that you should have already realized by now about this fucking show you're listening to. This shit is supposed to be for mature audiences, as in grown-ups, mentally mature. It's supposed to talk about adult subjects, an adult frame of mind. It's not fucking that at all. This is two emotionally regressed, broken half-wits pretending to offer insight on movies. All they really offer you is an endless sexual perversion and a laundry list of personal paraphilia issues. You can make your own choices in life, but you have to choose this as entertainment. You know you're better than this. You have to know you are better than listening to Cinema Psyops.
Disturbing, just wait, because there is a whole other dimension.
Do you know what your children are watching? Well, parents and psychologists are very concerned. Fair warning, though, there is some graphic violence in this, but we say that for you, not your kids. They've probably already seen it.
You have to know you are better than listening to Cinema Psyops.
I like gore. I love blood and guts and stuff, you know. It turns me on, you know, ever since I was a little kid. I love the feeling of being scared, you know.
Kids call them slasher or splatter movies, and they get together to watch them at gross out parties. The movies are extremely violent, sexually provocative, and have graphic displays of mutilation.
I see him with a friend, and we see who can keep their eyes open the longest.
Slumber Party Massacre. That was a classic. This guy just goes around killing people. That's the plot of all scary movies. C-I-A-E-M-A P-S-Y-O-B-S C-I-A-E-M-A P-S-Y-O-B-S
You have to know you are better than listening to Cinema Psyops.
Kids get the movies from the horror section. Most of the violent movies are rated R and aren't supposed to be seen unless you're 17 years old. Others are made directly on videotape and bypass the rating system altogether.
C-I-A-E-M-A P-S-Y-O-B-S C-I-A-E-M-A P-S-Y-O-B-S C-I-A-E-M-A P-S-Y-O-B-S
And welcome to the 335th episode of Cinema Psyops. I'm your host, Cort, the guy that's gonna fucking trick you about just how excited he is to be here today. And being my cohort, as well as my co-host, and helping me do that is my co-host, Matt.
You guys didn't see anything. This is just the opportunities for us to razzle and dazzle you.
I saw everything.
You did not shut up.
I saw everything.
How dare you? You saw nothing. Don't pay attention to the angry, depressive people behind the curtain.
Yeah, don't think about how we have to somehow muster this shit up together to do this every fucking week, despite how we may feel inside, and try to be somewhat entertaining and happy. Don't think about that at all.
Don't think about it at all, or else I'm going to start to cry. And that's what you want, is an hour-long podcast of a grown man just fucking openly weeping. That's fine. I'll give you that. that shit, but I don't think that's what you signed up for.
I don't want to record that and edit it.
Right? It's just, who wants to hear all this, like, fucking sobbing and my, like, the snot-nosed shit? You know that's gonna happen.
I mean, you put it to the right sounding minor chord guitars and people will fucking just line up for it.
People think it's Evanescence. I know.
Oh, don't even take a pot shot at them. It's just anybody that plays minor chords and openly weeps into a microphone, which is like every fucking musician ever, basically.
I mean, I could have pulled out, that's Ed Sheeran. Yeah, we know.
I mean, I could sit here and recite the lyrics to Rainbow Connection, and yes, we could all have this wonderful, loving, and happy moment, but that's not how this podcast works, man. We're working on this ever drive forward to continue doing something so that you and I both have something to look forward to.
And I guess what I should say is the reason I use Evanescence is at least listen to some of their songs at one point. I don't know if I've ever actively heard an Ed Sheeran song because I am indeed old. I'm a fogey at this point in my life. I don't know anything that's like modern at all.
Well, what I'm referring to essentially is that the reason there are so many sad songs, the reason there are so many songs about heartbreak and anger and depression and all of that other kind of shit is, like I think Mike Ness said it best with Social Distortion. That's what it's like when you're down here with the rest of us.
Yeah. This is just life. It's life, man. Yeah. I fucking know.
Yeah, and Giallo January paid off big time last week.
Yeah,
but
I think it's going to pay off big time this week. We got a good one.
Really? You enjoyed this film, huh?
I for what it was? Yeah.
Okay, so you got over the fact that it was really heavily influenced by Psycho, let's put it that way.
Of course. Yes. Of course. You see it all right, listen, it doesn't take a genius to know within the first 20 minutes what the ending of this film's exactly going to be.
Right.
I enjoyed it for what it was.
Right. Okay.
How about that? I lowered my expectations enough.
Yeah. Okay. I totally get what you're saying there. And, I do not disagree with you in any way, shape, or form. I think that's kind of the big ask that the film will ask us in the first 20 minutes. And I think if you can get over that hurdle, then yeah, it's a well-made film. It's well shot. It's well acted. There's a lot of really interesting stuff that we're going to be able to sink our teeth into. But I'm glad that you're also willing to admit the fact that, I mean, you pretty much know right away when it's...
Oh, it's stole like crazy.
Well, it's not... It didn't steal because there's enough stuff that is different, but there are the key points that you would take away from Psycho in the story, as in someone's been dead the whole time.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for the film we're about to discuss. But I mean, like,
somebody is having a conversation with that person who's been dead this whole time.
Right. Yeah, totally. So, I mean,
yeah.
It borrows extremely heavily. So if you've seen Psycho, then, you know, you're going to have to get over that hurdle to enjoy the rest of the stuff that we both did enjoy about the film. But it took me, I would say, probably significantly longer to get over it while watching it than what it did you. And I'm still a little salty about it. But like, I have to admit that is a hurdle you have to get over. And if you can get over it and just like deal with that, then there is plenty of stuff to sink your teeth into with this film and enjoy it. But
you know what
some people may not want to do that. So why not warn them up front, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And what really helped me get probably over it a lot easier was I was in a tremendously good mood when I watched this movie. So maybe that also helped me. Like if I was in maybe like a piss poor mood or some shit like that, then maybe I'd be like, you know, fuck you. What are you fucking doing? It'd take me longer. But
well, yeah,
that's
a distinct possibility. But like I live pretty much every fucking day in a state of constant anger. Like that like I just like it's just there, and I can't put it away. It's just some baggage that I deal with. It's just shit that's on me.
I'm no psychologist, but you're gonna want to get that checked out.
Well, hereditary chemical imbalance shit, medication. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just, like I said, I'm no professional, as we've all known. I think throughout the entirety of these episodes, you can well and in fact establish I'm no professional in any sense of any profession, but I still get that checked out.
What you're saying is if your anger and hatred last more than 4 hours, consult a doctor.
That's a prietism. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but... Yeah, it is what it is. And like, I don't say that shit because I think it makes me cool. I say that shit because I think it makes me a fucking loser and I'm sick of it.
All right, a healthy dose of that shit in there too. I'd go ahead and just pack that away for a little bit, man. You're all going to be okay.
Yeah, like I don't think that that's something to aspire to at all. I just want to state that out for the record. But just to kind of like circle back like to the actual film and everything that we're going to be discussing with the movie, you have to let that go, because if you can let that go, there's plenty of stuff that we can really definitely enjoy about it, but we do have to discuss it because of that. And it took me a little bit longer to kind of get over it, but I'm glad that the film did win me over. However, there's a lot of things that I do have to nitpick about the movie and discuss. And
there's plenty of things done in this movie, like in the story, where I'm kind of like, I don't know. There's a lot of things this movie has a lot of questions to answer for.
the interior decorator of the set and or house they filmed in has a lot to answer for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's also true.
I'm sure everybody's like, wow, what the fuck is this movie got?
God, people.
Cort is coming at an interior decorator? What the fuck?
Man, this is just interior decorating. It's just one of the many services we offer here at Cinema Psyops.
You can learn more about it in the Legion Patreon ad, after which we will have the Syndicate of Sound and Little Girl for our pirate radio edit.
Hey.
This'll keep you quiet. Oh, hi there. I didn't see you. You caught me cutting a new show. I'm Bo Ransdell, and I'm one of the many creators you can find on Legion Podcasts. I said quiet! My fellow podcasters and I work hard to bring you the best in horror podcasting, but that comes at a cost.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Not that, but also yes. No, what I'm getting at is that there are server costs for good microphones and software for editing, all the things that make our shows, fun to listen to. And you can help. If you're enjoying the shows on legionpodcasts.com or in the Legion Network available on iTunes and Stitcher, just about anywhere you can download a podcast, really, you can help us out and get a little something for your trouble at patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. For just $2 a month, you get a pair of movie commentaries exclusive to Patreon, and for $5, you can also join us for a monthly screening of a movie. All of that available on patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. We appreciate it, and thank you for listening. Now, back to the cutting room.
All right, so I like the idea of someone telling a murderer, hey, you didn't think of doing anything new to kill.
Yeah. Well, and you didn't do nothing unique.
And considering that our killer this week, spoiler alert, everybody, but it's kind of obvious from the get-go, is a female.
Yeah.
That's the theme for this week's Pirate Radio edit.
Nice.
Y'all seen Psycho? What if we made that with a female?
And her husband. And and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, why you have to ruin the movie for everyone? You don't have to ruin it for everyone else. They would have been so surprised because this movie hit it so well.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not because your tone is always like that.
I'm never not sarcastic. There's just different levels to it.
I have many subtle levels, like Dr. Venkman's laundry and Ghostbusters,
yes,
too.
That's right. There's no such thing as just not sarcastic and sarcastic. There's just many varied levels.
But there's also no levels of trailer this week, so we can just start the review at any point.
Fuck it. Let's do it. Trauma, the first 20. Start out, it's got this guy. This guy's a weird looking dude, right?
Yeah.
He's our lead actor.
I thought the
He's
same
a
thing.
weird-looking guy.
Yeah, and they're trying to play him off as like this like handsome, ne'er-to-do-well
handsome,
kind of playboy dude, right?
Leading man type shit. Yeah, and I'm like, I thought at first this is a bit player guy who's going to get murdered like first or some shit. Nope, but so anyway, he's getting directions to a hotel. We see the outside of this hotel, and you hear a woman yelling that she says, "You only married me for that." Must be talking to her husband. Then she says, "You drop that pipe, because you keep smoking all the time. Drop the pipe, and I'll make you some dinner." So sounds like marital discord is happening here. So then the dude, he pulls up, and as he walks in, the lady kind of scares her, but she's like, "Oh, geez," and she drops a bottle of wine because she's coming from their wine cellar.
But you never see it again.
No, you never see this wine cellar again.
No, you never see the wine that she dropped. You never see it get cleaned up. It's not in the next shot when she walks past it and she's holding two bottles again.
Nothing that gets... Well, no, she had 3 bottles. She was holding 3. 1 dropped, so she had 2 the whole time after that.
Yeah, but the broken wine bottle, like, they cut back.
But you never hear about it again. No, there's no, like, I better go clean that up out in the middle of fucking a pathway people might walk on,
Well, and it's instantly gone. Like, they completely forgot about it after it shatters, too. Like, it just disappears.
Every mess that's made is completely forgotten about.
Yeah, it just disappears. You're right.
Yeah. Everything just disappears for a mess. So anyway, she shows him around. She's being very friendly with him, and I think you can tell they're kind of flirting back and forth.
Right, and I totally don't get it. Like, I can get why he would flirt with her. Don't get me wrong. She's very friendly to him. She's rather attractive. Yes, she's rather attractive, absolutely. But, like, I don't see what she sees in him other than he is so awkward and weird. Maybe she finds him completely non-threatening?
Maybe, I don't know, because... that's a lady who could end up being something dangerous to me, because that is a dangerous type for me. And
we know this, yes.
Yeah. So I'm just like, holy Jesus. And this guy, this is the guy? And then I get mad, and I punched my laptop a few times, so I had to buy something new. So she's talking, she's like, her husband's disabled, but would love to play chess with him at some point. And he's like, "Oh, I'm terrible, but hey, if he doesn't mind playing with a novice, that's great." She shows him to his room. He takes off his driving gloves, because why wouldn't you have driving gloves? Well, when he takes off the driving gloves, we see an obvious wedding ring there.
It's almost as obvious as in Die Hard 2 when he, like, pushes the ring at her and says, "Just the facts, ma'am."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then she then we cut to, she's in her room of the manor, and she's berating a chair in which her husband is supposedly sitting in, yelling at him for not eating anything, and he's not taking good care of himself.
The instant you see her talking to a chair and she never actually interacts with her husband, and the husband and the husband doesn't move, so I'm like, all right, this is fucking psycho in this inn.
Yeah, it's psycho, and I'm like, is there even a husband? Maybe she made that up completely. Who the fuck knows? Maybe, what the hell happened? But, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, at the start of the film, you do wonder if there is even anybody in the chair, or if she's just basically, both roles are in her mind right now.
And I also wonder at this point, was there ever a husband even? Like, at this point, we both know either A, there's a corpse in that chair, B, that chair is empty and her husband's up in her mind, or C, there was never a husband to begin with, and she maybe was just lonely in her life and created that. So there's a lot of possibilities, but we all know it's one of those 3.
Yeah, we've seen Memories within Miss Aggie. We know how this is going to go, only without the pornography, unfortunately.
Anyway, the dude's trying to write. Apparently he's a writer, and she comes in, and she really is flirting a lot, and she wants him to make him dinner, and good dinner, and she's like, "Do you want fish or beef?" And he's like, "Hey, whichever one." So she's gonna make him some fish, and she says a storm's gonna be coming in tonight, and so he's like, "Great," but she's heavily flirting in this part of the scene more than he is. You know, he's being nice, but she is heavily flirting, and it's heavily pissing me the fuck off.
He is flirtatious with her, but he is also very forthright with the fact that, yes, I'm a writer. It's not that big of a deal. But then he's like, I'm also married. Like, he does say it like a couple of different times. But then I think he likes having her dote on him because it makes him feel good. And I can't say I blame him for allowing this to happen. But like, he never really seems like he's going to go for it at all during the film, like where he's going to succumb to her charms. And honestly, I think that's the only thing that keeps him alive through the film.
I think so. That's definitely has to be the only reason why he lived.
Spoiler alerts for everybody again, but still.
Yeah, sorry everyone, but he lived. So anyway, he looks out and he sees a kid is watching a place. Same kid who gave him directions. Well, he goes out and he catches the kid, and he's kind of talking to him, hey, what are you doing? And then he sees the innkeeper. She's coming out telling dinner's ready. So he lets the kid go. Then he gives kind of the kid a nick and a nod, like, you're not in trouble. Get out of here, you scamp. And the kid takes off.
Does he feel creepy with his interaction with the kid at this point in the movie to you?
Not right now, but he's going to.
Okay. Good. Just as
and
long
I know
as
exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, then you saw it too.
Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it too, but not right now. Now it's just kind of like one of those, okay, I caught a kid spying on a house that he shouldn't be. Should I do anything? And then it's like, nah, okay, he's a fucking kid. Kids will be kids. Get out of here, you scamp. That's what it feels like to me. You know, he gives him that wink and nod like, yes, scamp. And, you know, he goes away. So it's a stormy night. He's having dinner, and she's talking to him, and he's like, this food's great. Stuff like that. The dude says, yeah, he's been married for some years, and but he's worried about that. He's worried about something about his marriage, but they don't really expand on it. They talk about his writing, and he says he's very interested in this lady. So now, you know, he's kind of flirting a little bit more. She then shows him these dolls that she makes herself. He's very impressed by it. He thinks they're antiques at first. She goes, no, I made them. And he goes, wow, I would have sworn they're antiques. And she goes, she uses a special method to make them look older.
How many dolls are there when he first shows up? Is it 2 or 3?
I think it's 2 or 2? No, 3. 3.
Yeah. Okay. That. All right. Because I'm trying.
An odd number.
Yeah.
Because she takes 2 down to show him, and there's still 1 up there.
Yeah. There's 3 currently, but the numbers continue to increase as the film goes, and I think it's representative of something. And I just want to make sure.
But the movie never touches on it, though.
There's 3 dolls. She's really obsessed with them, and we'll talk more about it as we go. Yeah. So you saw that abandoned thread as well, which is something that this film does like a lot. But not in a way that it feels uncomfortable or
like I'm getting robbed.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't feel shortchanged because the film basically like visually tells me part of the story without actually having to acknowledge it in any other way, shape, or form. And then I either pick up on it or I don't. And either way, I'm going to enjoy the other elements of the story. But this is just like a little extra depth of the story for you to have here with the dolls. Is basically why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah. So he then remarks, like, if you sell, I'm sure you sell these by the pretty penny. And this is the first moment in which you get to see this character arc of hers, where she kind of snaps at him and gets really hurt feelings and goes, why would I sell them? They're mine. And then she storms off, in which she does a lot with everybody. And she'll turn around and be friendly to you again, but she will lose her temper at you a lot as well.
It seems as though her grip on what's going on around her is very tentative at best, and she becomes extremely childlike when she demands to be able to keep the dolls, and like, why would I ever want to sell them, you know, and gets really upset. And like the concept of making them to be able to make money becomes so offensive to her. She gets angry and runs off, and it's really bizarre, you know, like it's not like he said he wanted to buy those specific ones, but he was like, you could sell them is what he was getting at. And he was like surprised that she didn't because they're that good of quality, you know, and they do. Mm-hmm. They look.
It's a compliment.
Yeah.
Almost anybody else would take that as a compliment.
Right. And it's such a bizarre, weird thing to have a character do as far as an action goes, to where there is no question that she's clearly disturbed. This isn't Norman Bates, where he says a few things where you kind of are like, hey, wait a minute. But then he kind of chuckles and, you know, plays it off, and then like he's charming and nobody really notices it again. This is a woman just flat out completely changing for no provocation at all and becoming really, really cold to this man and then just walking away. I mean, that's like a warning sign, if nothing else. And I think even this guy seems to pick up on stuff like that. But being that he's a writer, I think he wants to learn more about her because I think she's becoming part of the story he's working on.
She is fascinating and she's also beautiful. So she has two things going for her that can catch a person's eye, especially somebody who's maybe the creative type.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, so I totally see how he can get sucked into her world, even though he is also acknowledging these warning signs that he is seeing. Like, it seems like he totally is acknowledging them.
Yes. Well, then as she's putting the statues back, two campers come walking in from the storm. They come in, they're like, hey, can we come in? Sorry, we got caught up in the storm. And she's very annoyed that these two people are here. And she says, I mean, you already came in, so what can I do? Then they ask if they can get some food, but she's like, hey, kitchen's closed, so go fuck yourself. And they're like, oh, but please, please, please. They beg enough that she goes, let me see what I can do. So then they're around a fireplace that has wood in it. They're like, oh, maybe we should try to light a fire. And he's like, I better check with her first. He goes to the kitchen. He's talking to her. She is highly annoyed that they're there, but is still kind of listening to their story. But she's like, the fireplace is out of order. You can't use it.
She doesn't want them there. They are ruining her good time with this gentleman. And it's obvious that she is trying to shove them out the door and get rid of them so that she doesn't have to have them around because her time with him is being ruined.
Yeah, very much. She is putting something together for dinner, but she's talking to the guy and she's like, what are you guys doing? Do you guys climbing the mountain? And he goes, yeah, we're in the middle of it. We're climbing this mountain and we'll be out of here tomorrow. And she goes, tomorrow? She goes, you're going to stay the night? Shocked. And he goes, yeah, I thought we would because, the weather. So now she's ultimately annoyed because now she has two guests who she has to watch over. Then the guy comes back out and the girl is talking to the writer and they all kind of introduce themselves and the lady brings out some food and the couple's eating. So she goes back to where, right before that couple got there, she was being really annoyed by the writer. She got mad at the writer. Now she's back to her flirty self. So, some really, I guess, for lack of a better, extremes in her emotions.
She's extremely mercurial of a human being where she's all over the place with her reactions to things. And this is not the last time that she will get short with this writer in such a way to where it's kind of uncomfortable and you wonder if he's going to get hurt. No, I think he notices. He just doesn't acknowledge it to her because he is observing her.
It could be, I got this feeling like he was so kind of aloof in his own head, he didn't even notice that he offended her. He was just kind of like, oh, okay, she went away. Because you never get him, he never looks at her like, oh shit, what the fuck's wrong with you? Never gives her that side eye shit.
Yeah, I think he's been expecting this type of behavior from her the entire time. And okay, so who gives him the instructions to go to this hotel and why is he going to this hotel?
Yeah, it's that kid who gives him why is he going to that? We don't know that. We don't know why he's going. I know the kid gave him instructions when he stopped in town at the very beginning of the movie, and that kid who he busted is the one who actually gave him directions to this hotel. But why he didn't know about this hotel? Who knows? Why did he drive away? Who knows? We don't know any of that.
Yeah, but there's also a woman's voice that gives him instructions too. It's not a kid's voice about the hotel.
Oh, the fuck? Did I miss that? I thought that was the kid's voice.
Yeah, no, there was a woman. He's getting instructions from a woman that's telling him about the hotel, or at least I thought it was a woman. I didn't think it was the kid.
See, and I thought it was the kid.
No, I think he still couldn't find it, and I think the kid told him where to go from there.
Okay. So then that isn't okay. Shit, I just thought the asshole got into a car, decided to drive away, and we don't really know what the hell he's doing.
I just assumed that him being a writer, he heard stories about this woman's odd behavior, and he was looking for an inspiration. So he came to this hotel just to kind of write about his experiences.
I thought he was maybe having. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just on top of the reason why he needed to actually go away that we're not going to reveal yet, because that is actually kind of a spoily moment for the actual story. I mean, all the stuff that we're talking about as far as the psycho roundabout stuff,
Yeah.
And we already said we already said that this weird looking guy was our lead. So saying that he survives the entire time is also not that much of a spoil if you think about it.
Yeah. That's true. I just thought like he was having a burnout as a writer, so he just left wherever he was. Like, and I don't know anything of the other shit, that was happening between him and that we find out later in the movie. I just thought, he's one of those writers having a burnout. I better start. I got to drive someplace and get a better understanding of my life or whatever.
Yeah, I just think that I just thought that this guy's motivations were a lot more sinister than it appears, especially by the end of the film. So I just kind of assumed that he knew what was going on with her, but he knows that he cannot acknowledge those moments where she gets outraged. And I think he's there because she's been exhibiting some odd behavior, and he's basically mining this for a story because he is an uninspired failed writer. I think it's like two birds, one stone kind of thing being in this hotel.
He's successful, but he's blocked right now.
How
about that?
He's a failure at doing anything more, is what I basically meant. Like
there you go. He's being more than what's already made him famous.
Yeah, like he doesn't have any more inspiration. He's looking for a muse. He can't really write anything else.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. He's run out of inspiration. All right. Cool. All right. But all this is still, we're just kind of like, all right. Well, anyway, she starts flirting with him again. They're kind of talking, and then the couple want some more wine, so she's heavily annoyed. She goes to pour some wine, and he comes up behind her and was like, hey, does your husband want to play that chess game? And here's another spill. She spills wine, and then that spill just goes away.
Yeah, you never see it again.
Never see it again. But she goes, nah, he's, I think he's not feeling well, all that kind of stuff. Tomorrow, though. And he goes, okay, cool. He goes, I'm going to head up to bed. And so he goes to sleep. Chess will be tomorrow. And that's the end of the first 20 minutes of the movie. So a lot of build up here. A lot of substance to get you into at least the first 20 minutes. As long as you overlook, you're obviously watching something very heavily influenced by Hitchcock.
Well, and the obvious ploy at what they're doing, it's when you see it at the beginning of the film, I said to myself, oh man, I hope they're not going to just rip off Hitchcock here, because it really feels like they're just going to rip off Hitchcock. I hope they do something different with it. And I think they kind of do, but they also do just kind of rip off Hitchcock with the main arch of the story, but they just kind of hang their own little plot points and various things to it, where they change it enough to where they're doing some other things that it keeps it interesting.
I will say this, they at least made it known that they were going to heavily rip off Psycho early enough for me to get over it and start enjoying it within this first 20 minutes. I was like, okay, fine, they're going to do this. Let's see what they're going to do with it. I know what they're taking it from. I know they're probably going to pull heavily from it. Now I can enjoy this first 20 minutes.
Okay, so when exactly did you decide that, with basically the second time she goes up to talk to her husband after you're both like, you see it the first time and you're like, yeah, he's a corpse. And then was it like the second time she goes to talk to him?
When you see her actually talking to a chair. So you hear her talking outside of the hotel before the guy gets there, and you're like, all right, I don't hear in a second part of the conversation.
See,
you don't hear someone talking back to her.
So when she's talking without anybody else there, I'm like, they're going to do fucking Psycho, because this is supposed to be the end he's going to.
That's what I started thinking. Okay. All right. So this is probably a Psycho type thing. And then, so it's already in my head. So that's why they did it early enough.
And then when you see the chair, that's when
you're talking to a chair, and you're like, all right, they're definitely doing Psycho, and they're going to pull heavily from it. Because you could do the type of thing they were doing and be like, oh, hey, they got an idea from Psycho, and they're going to play off of that kind of mental idea. But then when you see her just talking to a chair, you go, oh no, they're just going to try to do Psycho with a different flavor. Like, they added cinnamon on top of Psycho, and they're going to expect me to think that it's a completely different fucking dessert.
Right, it's pumpkin spice Psycho.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, all that happened. So her talking outside of the hotel was at the very beginning before the guy even pulled up.
Yeah.
And then her talking to the chair was probably 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in, and I already know it, and I can adjust myself to be like, all right, so this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. I'm fine. And we can move on.
It took me a little longer to get over it than that. Like, when I got to the part in the chair is when I got angry about it. But then my anger subsided when they started doing all this different stuff, like with the dolls and all that other kind kind of thing. So like my spike went higher up, so it took a little longer to drop off, like, and just kind of accept it. I was like, oh, God damn it, no. And then they started doing the stuff with the dolls, and they had like just the little differences that they did with the new couple that's coming to spend the night and irritating her. And the way that they're doing this, where I'm like, oh, this is very different now. What's going on, you know? And then when you realize that, you know, that I think also the realization that that creepy, weird writer dude is now going to be our lead, like that happens at this point when the couple comes, because you know the couple's going to die because they're already irritating her. Like you just know, like you can just fucking tell.
You know who the first, we now know who the first victims are going to be in this movie.
Right. And in my head,
the minute they came in from the rain, I'm like, they're our first victims, right on time.
Yeah. And here are the first two to die. Right. And like, as soon as you see them, you're like, oh, I was thinking the author was going to die that night because he suggested that she sell the dolls and she was going to lose her shit and fucking kill him. Right. But then like these two come storming in and I'm like, oh no, he's safe. Yeah. He's going to live a little longer.
He's going to be okay.
Right. Okay. Now we discussed everything else story-wise and plot-wise that we needed to get through, and I feel like you are absolutely correct. By the time the chair happens, you may have an initial reaction of anger, but like if you kind of can get over that and enjoy the weird ride that we get up to the point when the kids show up and the 20-minute mark hits, I think the rest of the movie you're gonna like. Like I think you will enjoy it. I do agree with you there as well. There is, however, one very unforgivably horrible thing with the decor in this house that I cannot let go of.
Now this I don't know, like, because I know nothing about how to decorate shit, so I can't wait to hear this.
All right, so you notice the wood grain look all over every single wall in the house?
Yeah.
Did you notice the bubbling wallpaper that wasn't smoothed down in that wood grain in a couple of the shots?
I didn't, but that's not something I traditionally look for, but now I think I'm going to start.
All right, so obviously I watched it on my projector, right?
Yeah. You're going to have a bigger viewing than me.
Right. Every piece of what should be paneling or looks like it would be wood paneling is in fact either a badly painted on wood grain look or a badly placed wallpaper or decal for the wall kind of sticker that has like bubbled up and stuff like that on the wood grain and all of that. And it just looks awful. I don't know if they did that for this, like if it was like they built a set or if this was somebody's house. If it's somebody's house, I feel even worse about that, about having to say that.
Check that out now.
It's fucking terrible.
It sounds horrible. I mean, yeah, I would hate that shit.
And the problem that I really have is it looks like there's actually like, you know, solid old school craftsmanship woodwork in the house, and all of that awful wood grain either paint job or wallpaper, because it is bubbly in some parts too, so I'm guessing it's wallpaper or whatever, is just ruining everything about the house and what it could be to me. And it just makes me feel so ill. And they spend all the goddamn time in there, and they spend a lot of it in that parlor that looks like that is primarily that, or the hallway outside of the rooms, to where I'm just grateful that we go into that awful lime green room the fucking author's staying in just to get away from the wood grain.
Because it's all just a fucking mess out there.
I will never watch this again on my projector because that's painful to see.
Why would you waste the bulb?
It's not a waste of the bulb because everything else is beautiful. Like when we go outside and all that stuff, it's beautifully shot. It looks wonderful.
The outside is, the outside is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
But we spend so much time in those rooms with that wood grain, and it's really painful to look at.
It really is. It really is.
We can move on now. That bone has been picked.
All right. You did it. But now that you say it, I'm like, oh, God, now I want to go back and check that out.
No, just don't. Just don't. Like, unless you're going to watch the movie to watch the movie, don't go back for that, please.
All right.
Save yourself from the memory.
The next 20 minutes starts with the couple being shown their room. And then the writer is kind of sitting there. He's trying to write, and he kind of hears the kids frolicking a bit. They're frolicking. Then we see the wife is arguing with her husband, and he wants her to do it, and she says to not hit her again, and she will. And then she starts to get undressed and poses as she has flashbacks of an assault that happened on her from her husband.
This is fucked, right?
Yeah, it's that's That's a pretty severe scene that you're seeing, because it is not good, not even a little.
I mean, it's well crafted, yes, but it is painful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, not good as in it's a hard watch because of just all that stuff.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's fucking painful as shit. I was having a problem with it, and I was wondering if I should like send you trigger warnings about it. You know?
No, this part wasn't too badly of a trigger warning for me, but it could be for other people. I mean, just watch yourselves if you're gonna watch this, because there's some pretty hardcore assaults.
Spanish fucking cinema has a lot of this kind of shit in it. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it really is.
And this is a Spanish-made giallo, by the way, directed by Leon Klimowski. So, and Klimowski himself actually has a lot of this kind of material in his movies too. And it's in Spanish horror and genre movies for sure. I don't know if it's like a cultural reason for it to be in there or what it is, but like they really do try to sell you on the sexiness of her getting naked while showing you how she has been abused and misused and victimized.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's wrong. It's fucking wrong. You don't eroticize that kind of shit.
Yeah, and that's what they try to do, is eroticize violence like that, which isn't good.
Yeah, it feels like that is really what they're trying to do, yes.
Yeah, well, gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, oh boy. Yeah, so then the couple, they're nude, just lying around. The girlfriend of the couple is very much, she's kind of working out while topless. Thank you, movie.
Yeah, this is all consensual what's going on in this room, so this is the first thank you that we get.
They go on about how they met on this mountain. That's how they originally met one another, and how adorable that was. And then they frolic some more. And as they're getting ready for action, we see and as they're frolicking, we go back. We see once again the writer is kind of like really listening to them, and it's kind of creepy. But then we see like the door open. We see a gloved hand open up the door, and then we see the lights go out, and they're kind of talking. They're like, well, this is very strange and not good. So he decides he's going to go check it out. So what he does is he lights a lantern, and then he puts on he opens up the door first and sees someone walking away. So he's like, I think I'm going to scare whoever's out there. So he puts on a nylons over his face, and then, carries a lantern out there. Well, I
instantly want him to die just for being this kind of a jackass.
Yeah. Yeah, this kind of jackassery is just dumb. So, he sees whoever it is, they're walking up, and he must know them because he looks relieved. He takes off the stocking, and he kind of just like, oh, hi, how's it going? And the person cuts his throat with a razor blade, killing him.
Have you noticed how willing and helpful the victims are with getting their throats slit by this razor?
They really are. They raise up their heads, really expose the necks for them. They really help out. They really want to get killed by this razor.
Yeah, it has to be acknowledged that the victims are willingly popping their necks up. I don't know if we're seeing this from the killer's perspective or not, but like they really are just offering themselves up.
They are just like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but the human jugular is a great place to murder them.
With that razor you currently have in your hand.
It's like pop-up video for how to murder somebody. Pop up. So then the killer goes and walks into the lady in the room and slices her up as well. That's a pretty brutal murder, though, that slicing, because that's just slice and dicing, man. Not just the throat, but everything.
Yeah. When I was watching it on my projector, you could actually just see blood being left behind trails, and it didn't actually look like the blade didn't even kind of come close. But I understand why, because it's a naked woman's body that they're dragging the razor along. But like the angle or something, it just didn't. Like you could just totally see the blood just kind of like flopping off of the razor onto the body. I was having there's a couple of moments like that in the film where I'm really having a hard time suspending my disbelief, and I got to get myself pulled back into it. But like there's just something that's got really that is really charming about it, like the sort of can-do attitude of everybody that's involved, and the couple really does sell being irritating, but at the same time like endearing to you right before their death. So when their murder happens, like the film does build up some goodwill, because you're ready for it.
The guy's more irritating than the young lady,
right? Like and the way that he dies is quick and just kind of over with, and then the killer very clearly has an issue with unrepressed women.
The female.
Yeah, sexually, what's the term I'm looking for? Sexually free women. Yeah, it definitely has an issue with that, or just a woman who refuses to bow to standard mores of the day or of the past. I would say more than anything of like an ancient, long gone era. So that attack is, the idea that it's going to be brutal against her. I mean, that makes sense as far as the psycho side goes. But like I said, with her death, whenever the razor's dragging, not on her face or her neck, that stuff all looked pretty believable. But it was just when it started like trying to cut her body, you could just see like the blood was just basically being sprayed down.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
You could see the seams on his neck wound, but the actual sculpt of the wound looked incredible. It actually looked pretty realistic.
Huh, nice.
Well, I always got to critique the makeup. You should have been ready for that.
Of course you do. Yeah. The next morning, it's a beautiful morning, and we see the ladies making more statues. So 2 more statues, to be precise.
Okay, we were obviously hinting at it, and we knew that this was where this hits. So now she has 5 in total, and that makes me wonder who the previous 3 are supposed to represent. Does it for you as well?
Yeah, I kind of just thought 3 people who we never got to see before. But it could also be like there are a lot of them are colorful statues, and then there's one that's just a tall black statue. And I always think the tall black statue is going to represent either A, death, or B, her husband.
I think it is her husband because what he did to her is her death.
All right. So the tall black one represents her husband. The other 2 she already had made when people got there. Maybe these aren't the first victims of her crimes.
Oh, I don't think so either. I think just like in Psycho, we only knew Marion Crane because we followed her there, but clearly Norman had been doing it a while.
Yeah, and also the boy even says something later on that we'll get into. So the writer comes down, says he slept like shit. He goes, I'm sure the couple next door slept really well. And she actually snaps and says, oh, they already took off and stiffed me on the bill. So he's like, oh, well, that sucked. And then he goes, he needs to make a phone call. It's pretty important. So, I'm sorry. And she also says they even took the sheets. So you're like, okay. I mean, obviously she had to get rid of the sheets because she killed that lady on it. So.
Like Psycho, I'm wondering if maybe this version of her that's here today talking to him is blissfully unaware of just what happened. And that's why she's complaining about the bedding missing as well. Like, is there a part of her, just like in Norman Bates, it's Norma Bates, He even screams, I'm Norma Bates as he's attacking as Norma Bates at one point.
That could be true. Yeah, I guess you don't know, really, and you never really figure it out.
Right. I mean, they borrow just enough from Psycho to have a framework to hang the story they want to tell on it, but, like, they also kind of abandon, and that's one of the threads you're just going to have to, like, is she just, like, basically trying to make an excuse as to why he might find the bed stripped? Or is she literally venting at this point because in her mind they did steal the bedding because she doesn't know what happened because another part of her did all of this?
Yeah, you wonder.
Yeah, you do. You have to kind of question that yourself as you're watching it and then realize they're not going to explain it to you, so you need to quickly abandon it as well.
Yeah, exactly. That could be very true.
And it just could be, I mean, there was a lot of censorship, and this is Franco's Spain when this is shot. So there's a lot of censorship at the time for this kind of shit. So, I mean, yes, when it goes out of country, they allow the nudity and all the other things, but like some parts of this story may have gotten lost in the shuffle because of that,
Yeah.
Of cutting and recutting certain things that like certain story points may have been objectionable that needed to be removed or whatever.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that is very true. He has to go make a call. And logically, the call is going out to his wife. The phone rings. The wife answers. They have an operator in between them. And he kind of stares at the phone and then just hangs up. Like he can't talk to his wife yet. So then the wife actually gets a call from her mom and she goes, yeah, I haven't heard from him. He just left. No anything. She's worried about him. And she's like, I think he just tried to call me, but he couldn't talk to me. And then he hung up. So then the writer and our landlady, our inn lady, they talk and, she really wants him to be comfortable in the house, and he's talking about, and she's like, did you try to call your wife? And he goes, I had to hang up because he goes, if I told her where I was, she'd come here. And he goes, I don't really want her here yet. And he doesn't want to see her yet. So then he goes upstairs, shaves, sees her making the bed, and as he's walking down the hallway, he sees dried blood in the hallway, and he thinks that's kind of weird. As he's getting ready to leave, he hears her yelling and talking to her husband again. You see then she was shaving her husband, it appears, in the chair, and tells him that, no, she says this, no, not now. She goes, we can do it later, tonight. And then you get a flashback to a man, presumably her husband, telling her that she is his bitch and will do whatever he says. And that ends at 20 minutes.
So the little twist that they're doing is that instead of it being a hinted at child lifelong abuse from the mother and then finally kills the mother and then realizes can't live without them, they're doing a spouse who was sexually and emotionally as well as physically abused by her husband, who killed him and somehow cannot live without that, or that part of her mind is so fractured by what has happened that he permanently occupies this space to torment her, I think is the way that they're going about that for the storytelling. Is that what it seems like they're hinting at here so far?
I would say that sounds pretty correct, yeah.
I mean, they come right out and show us essentially that later on, but like they definitely do a good job of
getting now.
Yeah, but like you definitely understand that's what happened, and they obviously with the horrific assault that happened to her, you knew like that you saw hinted at earlier, and the fact that she's stripping for a husband that we clearly know is at least dead, if there at all, and that's his corpse that she's doing that for. Like she is reliving and trying to deal with the horrific trauma of what this man has done to her. And so she's reliving it almost like the repetition behavior where she's trying to work it out and process everything that has happened, you know, in some way, shape, or form. Or just that because it's like this, you know, because she's supposed to be mentally ill, then therefore she's going to have these repetitive behaviors that she cannot control or something along those lines with this. So therefore, every time she's around her husband, she's going to have this memory triggered, or she really does have his personality in her head now too, where she's created it just like in Psycho. I will tell you this, if you want an explanation as to which of the two it is, you can forget that because you're not going to get it. What you do get is essentially confirmation that that's what you're assuming here, this horrific assault is what put her in this current state. Absolutely. But for beyond that, as to whether or not she has a split personality or any of that kind of explanation, you don't really get that. So give up on that side of it and just enjoy the rest of the story to come.
Yeah, just enjoy the ride that's going to start coming to you here.
Yeah, because they're already kind of going, what if Psycho, but, and then they just keep changing certain things, but it's still very much Psycho's like main through line of the story, as we've already like discussed several times here. And the big difference that they did is they turned it into a woman who was physically and sexually and emotionally assaulted for the entirety of her marriage before she was even married, maybe, from what they've been hinting at here as well. We're not 100% sure just yet, and that has basically fractured her mind in some way. We're not sure if she knows that she's doing the killing or not, or what. But that's pretty much where the Psycho comparison begins and end with that after this. And the hotel,
pretty much.
and it being hotel guests. Like, so once you get over the hump of what it actually obviously is doing, it's done enough different stuff to where you're like, well, I'm glad I stuck with it at least for this point.
Yeah. At least you made it this far.
And can we cut it with the fucking sexual assault movie? God.
Please, it would just be so nice.
Hint at, not outright show.
Yeah.
Hint at.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, they don't listen to you there either. So anyway, the next 20 minutes start with the writers paddling outside on a lake. And he finds the actual bed sheets in the lake. Well, then we see the kid from earlier. He's swimming up, so the writer paddles over to them. We cut to a guy. He's coming out of a store with a couple bottles of wine. His car pretty much sucks. He's trying to start it. He's with his mistress. Or at least that's what we're led to believe, because they are definitely not married because they make mention of his wife, and they take off, and you're like, well, there's victims 3 and 4.
Right? We're like, yeah, they're going to end up at the hotel, and they are clearly going to die.
Yeah. The writers, now, here we go with maybe one of the creepiest points of this movie. The writer's talking to the kid, and the kid says, he's asking the kid why he's always staring at the place. And the kid says, a lot of weird people go up into that house, and he's just something he always wants to check out. And the guy is actively helping the kid dry off after swimming.
He also carefully plucks grass off of him.
Yeah.
And is very familiar with how he is touching his shoulders and helping him clean, like you said, like helping him dry off and stuff. Like it gets real fucking uncomfortable real fast.
Yeah. Real fucking weird. Real weird. I mean, like, if that's a dad to his young son helping him clean off after swimming, maybe. It's not his dad.
Or like a uncle, or even like
I mean, even an uncle would be weird, and he's not even an uncle, which means it's really fucking weird.
Yeah.
At least to me. Maybe things were different. This is out in Spain, right? This was made in Spain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe things were different in Spain in 1978.
I guess.
Or in the 1970s.
Yeah, but like, it's still a man, like, putting his hands on a child in a very familiar way and having very serious conversations with him at the same time. And it feels like we're watching a grooming starting to happen with this kid.
I completely and utterly agree with you. I'm just telling you, maybe devil's advocate around here. But
yeah, and
I completely agree in that I'm weirded the fuck out.
Yeah, and the way the character is looking at the kid, he's way more interested with the kid than he was with the woman that was flirting with him and pampering him.
Kinda.
And he looks like a fucking creep, too. The way that they got his hair done and the way that he dresses with the ascots and stuff. He just screams, like, get him away from that kid this whole time. I mean, like, it's really fucking uncomfortable. And, like, I really feel like the movie's leaning into this, especially we're going to see this kid once again at the end. But, like, this got super uncomfortable super fast that, like, when the kid started getting dressed, I literally said out loud, oh, thank God.
Yeah, same. I was like, whew, can we get out of this scene, like, now, please?
Thank you for not making me see what I thought I was going to have to watch, movie. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, movie, but holy shit.
Because it would have been a major fuck you, I rage quit movie if you did.
I even have a note here that says, Cort and I will have to discuss this scene en masse. Not because of what's really spoken, more the implication of the actions happening.
Right.
But I guess you can't go with the word spoken. You know, the kid says a lot of weird people go up there. The guy asks, hey, am I a weird person? He goes, no. He goes, but where's your wife? Do you have a wife? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, where is she? She's not here. And he goes, why? Most people come up here with their wives. Why didn't you? And he says, if my wife is here, I cannot rest. So let's just get his words out of the way before we go back to how fucking creepy that was.
Yeah, so here is where we know that he's definitely trying to escape his wife for some reason. But the statement of him not being able to rest with his wife there doesn't necessarily have a negative connotation, because their love life might be so hot and heavy that he can't get any work done and or rest at all, for real.
Love life, or she could, he might not be able to find restful, creative times with his wife around.
Right. Or maybe...
For whatever the various reasons are.
Or maybe he is so henpecked and he hates his fucking life so bad he ran away from her and is just trying to hide out in a hotel where no one will ever find him.
That could also be.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, we don't really fucking know, but what we do know is he's being extremely inappropriate with this child in ways that make us feel very uncomfortable, but it could be the culture and time. We just don't know. But God,
just don't know.
Damn, it's really uncomfortable.
He never gets creepy with a kid again after this. So, again, this is something that the movie will not pick up on. That's why I say maybe this is just something what the culture was back then in Spain.
Well, there is a moment at the end of the film that we need to talk about involving him and the kid as well, but we'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there, and I don't know how creepy that is, but I mean, I guess we'll get there when we get there. But again, I'm just saying, physicality-wise,
he never gets in close proximity physically to the kid again.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Fucking geez.
On film, yeah, we can totally say that.
Film. Yeah. Oh, God. All right.
Yeah, let's move on. This is fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah, all right. Well, then we cut to that couple who was driving while the car breaks down. Just like the foreshadowing said, because he said his car was a piece of shit. So he's trying to fix it, and she's got up there, and they start then making out against the car, and the writer sees
they're
them,
straight up fucking.
Are they? Do you think they're fucking yet? I don't know if they're fine. I thought they were just, like, really doing some heavy petting, though.
There's definitely some hands action going on both cases, yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's over-the-pants hand stuff, at least on one side of it. As the dude's, like, fucking gnawing on her neck, she sees the rider, who's just kind of, like, staring and has a weird-ass look on his face. Anyway, he comes up, and the rider offers to help out, and they push the car up to the end. the writer, he's going to go tell her, and when he goes back into the little stairwell that goes up to her apartment, he hears her screaming at a cat and, like, throws a cat in there and yells at the cat about, stay with its owner. And you're like, holy shit, leave that cat alone, lady. That cat didn't do nothing to nobody.
Yeah, fuck this part.
Yeah. So then he tells the lady that about the two people, and then we cut to the two people. They're in like the main room, and the one lady, she loves the dolls. She loves them, thinks it's the coolest thing. And so the landlady comes down. She meets the folks. She doesn't like them already. She especially doesn't like the lady because she's like, hey, and I noticed how that lady was looking at you too. So I'm talking to the writer. So she's already she's showing some jealous tendencies as well. She said she will allow them to stay. The mistress says maybe later I can buy a doll from you. They are so precious. I love them. And she's like, and she's really trying to kiss the lady's ass. She wants to be the lady's friend.
Well, she's trying to be really nice, actually. I mean, yeah, she's a little irritating, and yes, she is dressed very gaudy and very flashy, and her dress is cut all the way up, and
to the hananana.
Right.
A very provocative slip.
Yeah, and also it's very low cut at the top of it. It is quite the dress to attract attention, absolutely. And the woman's a bit of a prude about all of this kind of stuff. She doesn't like sex for obvious reasons, but she, is very upset about this woman's ability to enjoy her sexuality. Like it becomes this thing that she finds very resenting. And I think the other couple, because they were so happy together and they were just basically really having a good time and enjoying each other's company, I think that's what she found so offensive, was that they were actually like happy and like it was like a healthy relationship.
Also, they were not. She asked if those two were married, and he said no. And he even classified themselves as friends, and that kind of had her shocked.
Yeah, the non-traditional relationship, that upset her as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could have been why she killed them too. There's whatever it is that is her trigger having to do with sexuality and or morality or whatever it's supposed to be. I mean, it's all over the place, which is actually pretty realistic for a person with this kind of deep trauma, and also with someone that is in fact just a psychotic killer. I mean, like, their justifications for killing people go all over the place. I mean, I know I can come up with several. I mean,
whoa, hey, you all right there, buddy? Everything okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. You blanked out on me for a second.
Little too much sharing, apparently. Not as much caring as what I thought it was.
Always caring.
Yeah.
All right.
I've just learned that. But basically, what I'm getting at here is the reason that she's reacting to this woman is she is basically she's got it. She is flaunting it, and she is unforgiving about it, and she is bubbly and happy and not being punished for a lifestyle that the main antagonist woman does not agree with. And she's also not wrong in the horrid assumption that she makes when she talks to the writer and says she doesn't like her because she thinks she's a prostitute because she's dressed like one, is what she says.
She's dressed, and we find out later she's very right. But we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
So later on that night, the lady and the writer are having coffee, and he talks how the quiet is such a relief. It's a relief from the city stresses and modern day stress. She talks about how the quiet, she's tired of all this peace and quiet, and she's sick of her paralyzed husband, and she's like, am I crazy? And he's talking to her, and he puts a hand on her knee, and he's like, no. He goes, you're not crazy. And then he said something kind of misogynistic. He goes, you're just kind of a woman. And then before he's going to say anything else, they kind of make this eye contact moment, and he feels like the uncomfortableness, like, I'm getting a little too,
forward,
intimate with this person who's also married, and I'm married. So he says he has to go to work, and he gets up to go to work.
Okay, so what he's been doing this entire time is he's been playing this game of chicken with himself to see if he is essentially done with his marriage, right? Like, I think that's what he's been playing around with. And I think it's in
and I
think it's in that moment he comes to the realization where he's like, I don't need to be playing this game anymore. And he wants to go clear his head.
Yeah, especially, and I think he also, I think deep down he's kind of a good person, or at least has some moral standard, because he also is like, this is also another person's wife. And not just not a regular person, as far as he knows, but at least a person who is invalid. and stuck someplace.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a real dick move.
Yeah, that could also be as well. I don't know what his actual morality is, but I think it is that may be that he knows that he can't do it for that reason as well. But I really do think it's just he was playing a game of chicken with himself because he and his wife were clearly having some issues and he needed to work that out, and now he knows for sure. But I still think he knows also that there's something wrong with the woman, so he shouldn't do it anyway. Like, he was strong enough to realize that although crazy is really fucking good in bed, sometimes it's not worth your life.
Yeah. You don't want to stick his dick in that crazy.
The mashed potatoes are a better option at this point.
Pretty much, right? That's a great party, too, from what I hear. So then we cut to, like, everyone's evening kind of thing. We see the lady, she's preparing, the innkeeper lady, she's preparing a nice little chicken, cutting its head off. Not a live chicken. This chicken's already dead. So, then we see the, couple, and they decide they're going to go upstairs and get down to the business. They go get in the room, they strip down. The lady strips down, so it's all consensual, everything's all right. So, thank you, movie.
Yeah. She's a little spitfire of a woman, too, isn't she?
She is. She really is. It's nice.
The way that she strips down and presents her body lets you know right away that her character is in fact a professional at doing this. Like, you already know what's going on.
She is a sex worker, which is totally valid, a totally valid way of making money and living your life.
It's also a totally valid way of spending your money, Matt. There's no need to defend.
Yes, and it also is it's a valid way of making or spending money.
It's the type of commerce that we can get behind, if you know what I mean, and I think you do.
Boom. So anyway, the door opens, and we see the killer gloves, but then the killer closes it. Well, the couple are hanging out after doing their fucking, and they're having some drinks in bed. They're having some post-fuckery drink. And then she starts getting up, but she puts on clothes first, and that's when she makes first bed. She's like, show's over, and she gets dressed, says, now I want my money. So he has to pay her. So yeah, she's a prostitute. So anyway, she says she's gonna go to the bathroom. He says he's gonna go run out and get some cigarettes and gets dressed, and he heads out to his car. While in his car, we see the killer's hands show up and slashes his neck and kills him. And that ends that 20 minutes and will lead us into the final 20 minutes.
He's the biggest offender for stretching his neck for his killer. Like, after the shame of paying the prostitute and then running out for his cigarettes, he just willingly sacrifices his life to the killer.
Yeah. Yep.
No, of course, like, they're trying to get it into the shot and make it look good, but I think they needed to trim it a little bit more or something. That just wasn't right. There's something off about it.
Yeah, right? It's just like, what's that happening there?
Yeah. So the lady is a sex worker, and the guy even says to her that can't she just keep pretending? Like, you know, it's like, no, dude, you need to pay the piper, especially if you're expecting her to spend the weekend. You do need to start, incentivizing that.
You got to pay up, man. You got to pay to play.
Yeah, you cannot.
You got to know the scene.
You cannot, in fact, rack up the bill for the entirety of the weekend and expect to be able to just cash out.
She ain't fucking you because she loves you.
Yeah,
right? You're doing it to get paid.
You need to pay at least the day rate because she's probably got somebody else she's got to throw money back to as well, because let's face it, most prostitutes have to deal with pimps.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I don't know, man. This one's sassy enough, makes you think she's running her own.
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for her. Me too. She's got the proverbial heart of gold, I'm guessing, for...
Yeah. It seems like it. She seems like a great time.
Yeah, it seems like she just likes sex and she knows that she can make money doing it. So she's like, why not make it my career? Because then I love what I do.
Anyway, we're going to the final 20 minutes. Our mistress of the evening, she walks out and asks the lady if she's seen the dude. And the lady's like, no, I haven't, but I know he was looking for cigarettes. She goes, oh, well, he keeps them in his car. She goes outside, but the car's gone. She comes back inside and she asks the lady, how long would it be to go back into town? She's like, both ways, it's 2 hours, so...
If you're walking.
I think if you're walking, I think at this point she thinks the dude went to go push the car to town or something. You know what I mean? To get fixed.
Yeah, and I think she thinks that he just resents the fact that she broke his fantasy world. And made him pay up.
Because he even asked, can you forget that you're a prostitute? And she's like, no, why would I? And I don't want you to forget either. And I was like, go, you go get him. Go get him, ma'am. You tell him. You tell him what the fuck's going on. tell him the fucking score.
Right. I'm sure everyone who doesn't want to pay would like the prostitute to forget that she's a prostitute and pretend like she actually wants to sleep with your disgusting ass.
Yeah. She then goes upstairs, pretends she's going to go to her room, but she actually walks into the writer's room. And she makes it be, oh, these doors all look the same. And then she starts talking to him. She says she thinks the dude went to town to get the car fixed. She starts hitting on the writer pretty hard. And he's like, I gotta work. And she goes, well, I know you like the woods, though. And she's like, 'cause I saw how you're staring at me in the woods. And he stares off and he goes, I do love the woods. And she's like, all right. She goes, I'm going to go to the woods and I'll be waiting for you there. So come find me. Then we see the cat, and the cat lets out a worried and distressed meow. So, we kind of, know something bad's about to happen.
Yeah, the cat senses something because animals sense evil.
Yeah. As she waits outside, the killer shows up. It cuts her face. She runs, and we get a bit of a chase, but the killer, of course, catches up and kills her. So I really wanted this lady to make it.
Yeah, it was a bummer. I was really not happy about that. And the killer also does mutilate her body after death as well.
Yeah, and you're just kind of mad about it. Because she was a nice lady. For all intents and purposes, she seemed, the hooker with the heart of gold. She seemed great.
Yeah.
She seemed like a real friendly person, too.
Right. I mean, yes, she was all business minded after having to sleep with, that guy that was so cheap he was trying to talk her out of paying.
Yeah, and okay, but I mean, she asked for the money, but she gave him a lot for that. And then she was even nice to the innkeeper lady, the copper, telling her how much she loved her dolls and all that. She just seems like a nice lady, and she seems like, she was getting ready to give the writer a free ride.
Oh, I think she just liked the writer, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think she just found him interesting. Because apparently, that's what Prime A Man looks like in this movie's universe, is that guy.
Yeah, I don't fucking know, man.
I don't get it either.
Yeah.
I don't get it either. I'm not one to try to comment on another guy's looks, because, I'm me. But I'm just saying.
Look, I feel like I shouldn't ugly shame him, but I just don't get it.
I don't either. So anyway, the lady comes into the writer's room and he wakes up and he slept in late. She asks if he would like some breakfast, and and they're talking a bit, and he tells her he'll play chess with her husband today. She says, well, he didn't sleep well. I'll have to see how he's doing, but he definitely didn't sleep well. And,
what was your expectation of him actually just going up to introduce himself and play chess, like just showing up, and that's how he finds the body? Like how?
Yeah, I just was like,
yeah, that was the thread you were expecting too, right?
I thought the end of this movie was going to be she was going to bring him up to play chess. And she'd be acting all weird about it and everything. And he'd finally walk in and, he'd see like a dead skeleton in the chair with the chessboard in front of it.
Something along those lines. Yeah, probably. Like I was expecting something like that. It would have to do with him finally going to play chess, whether he doesn't do it through the wife or whatever and just goes up on his own or something. And that's another thread that just gets dropped after this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She said that the other people, they had already left. Their car was gone, so they must have left. But she did say that they paid before they left. But he sat there and wondered, but the car wasn't working. How did the car leave? How did they leave? I mean, he didn't quite understand that.
Well, it makes sense. It doesn't fit with anything she's saying at all.
Yeah. So at this point, we see the wife. She's driving, and the writer's wife is driving around getting directions. They have breakfast, the writer and the inn lady, and she states that her husband is paralyzed from the waist down. They both ask if they have any kids, and no. And the writer seems really dejected that he doesn't have kids. And I always thought there's a story maybe there, but the way he says no, like maybe he had kids, maybe he and his wife had kids, and something happened to the kid died, something like that, or he regrets never having children. Again, nothing we ever revisit.
Yeah, just a thread that's thrown out there.
Yeah, but the writer states also that he never wants to leave this place. He feels more real out here, more connected. She tells him that she kind of knows what's going on with him, that he's sick of his life. He's sick, pretty much, not the exact words, but this is pretty much what she's saying, is that he's sick of his bullshit friends constantly kissing his ass, and his wife, who fucking probably also kisses his ass, and everyone acts like he's super god and shit like that. And he's probably sick of it. And she's right. She's exactly right. He is very sick of it. He even says, my wife's easy. And that's it. That's all we can say about it. They have another moment right before she says she has to go check on her husband. And almost like she has the realization. Like, they have this moment where he's like, he wants to write about her and all this kind of, he really lays it on thick. And then she almost snaps to and goes, I better check on my husband. And she leaves. So they're both playing some emotional chicken around here.
Well, I think in her case, there is part of her that does want to escape, but that I better go check on my husband is like the Norman hears his mother yelling from afar.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. Like, I think that's how they're trying to show that trigger, like somebody's about to die.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true.
And the fact that she is somewhat playing up the idea of running off with him and or doing something amorous with him in the immediate future is what triggered that and why she has to run to go check on her husband. I don't think it's the emotional chicken in her case. I think this is just part of the repeating cycles of dealing with the trauma that's surfacing here.
Yeah. I mean, you're very right. A lot of shit to unpack with her mental stability, of course.
Which is what really brought me the joy for watching this, was like really trying to figure out like the motivations of her character, and that really made it more fun to watch.
Yeah, true. So then as the writer is walking around outside, he actually finds that one couple's car, the dude's car, hidden in a bunch of branches. Just then his wife pulls up. They embrace and they go inside, and he introduces her to the inn lady, who is none too happy at all. And as those two go upstairs, she actually breaks the head off one of her dolls. So that's something, right there. And she starts crying. So now we're starting to see some real breaks here. So then the couple are kind of laying in bed and they're nude a little bit. Then we cut to the inn lady, repairing the doll. We cut back to the wife and the guy. They're laying there and just kind of naked, and she's smoking. And she tells him that maybe he's too wrapped up in his characters, and that's why he won't come home. And she's there to always protect him. She's like, I loved you when you were a nobody, which sounds awfully like a lot of gaslighting behavior there. I loved you when you were nobody. So, I'm the only one here protecting you. That kind of shit.
Yeah, I don't...
Right? I mean, kinda.
It does seem that way, yes, but I think in her case when she's talking to him, I think she's trying to be genuine, where she's trying to be like, look, I don't care about the writer part. Before you even had that. That's what I thought she was trying to say, and it just seemed like
could be.
Maybe the translation just didn't work for us. Like, it just... because when she's saying it, she's actually like really being quite emotional, and But
I think she's overprotective of her husband as well.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
That could affect a relationship as well when you feel like you're being babied.
But I mean, he also has been gone for how long now? And she hasn't seen him. So there's a part of her that's got to be desperate to just to have some kind of communication, just to find out what's going on. So but
it does sound like she still is overprotective. That's why he left.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I just I didn't get the sinister connotation to what she was saying. I think she earnestly was trying to tell him that, whatever happened, she wants to work it out, and that's what she was trying to communicate. But
I do believe she loves him. I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like that. I think she loves him in like real love. But I think she accidentally switches over almost to, instead of loving him as a husband and somebody, she almost mothers him. You know what I mean?
Well, which he clearly loves, because he was being babied by this woman at the motel and loving it though too.
Kinda, but I think that woman also challenged him a bit more, because he said, my wife is very easy. He said that. So I don't think his wife really provides any stimulating conversation. You know what I mean?
It could be. It's hard to really gauge his motivations just based off of the way that she's reacting here, but I feel that she's being genuine, and I don't feel like she's trying to over-explain or be gaslighting in the way that she's speaking. I just feel like this was written by a man, and that's why it feels like gaslighting to you.
Okay, well, now I can't argue with that.
She can't deliver the dialogue any more than how it's written, but I feel like the way that they're trying to portray it is that she's trying to convince him to come back.
I just also went with her face, because her face kind of looked almost sinister in a way. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, she's the evil wife coming back. We're supposed to see her that way.
I guess, yeah. She's, okay. I don't know, man. Listen, don't put words in my fucking mouth.
I'm not.
Just going off of things I'm watching.
All right. You're not wrong. At first, when she comes back, she's off-putting, and you do feel that way, but I do think that she's trying to win him back.
I believe she does love him. That not that she's using him or anything, but I believe she could be overprotective of him, to the point where he no longer feels like he has a partner, but something else. But anyway, he does say, he goes, I don't think I need protection. And she goes, wow. She goes, this escape has made you different, she says. And then she says, maybe it's this innkeeper lady. And she goes, don't worry, I'll make you forget all about her. And they start going at it. We cut to the inn lady, she's crying. We cut back to the couple, they're boning. The dude's pretty much like, he's just perma-hard. Apparently he just can't come right now. Maybe too much on his mind. But they are boning. And then they start to hear commotion upstairs, and they hear the inn lady screaming that she wants to be left alone to her husband. Well, he goes to check it out, and he walks up to one of the rooms, and he finds the room where it's supposed to be her apartment in complete disarray. Well, then we see the inn lady. She comes into the writer's room with a razor. The wife is kind of hiding behind a dresser, and she watches as the inn lady just carves the bed up. She then sees the wife and starts walking up to her, and the inn lady, the actress, did these great fucking crazy eyes. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, and while she's actually doing the carving and the motions that she's making, there's something very unnatural about what she's doing, and it just feels like the way that she's able to do it with such reckless abandon. Like, I was worried the actress was going to injure her own hands, the way she's grabbing at things and slashing at the same time to rip it apart. Like, it's a really emotional performance, and I think if nothing else won me over, it was at this point where I'm like, okay, well, at least this actress is really giving her all in this performance, because this was incredible.
I'll tell you, all the actors really did. Everyone who acted in this movie acted pretty well.
Yeah.
But yes, this lady in particular right now, she really kind of, she blows this one up. So this was really good. Right before she cut the throat, the writer comes in. The inn lady sees him. She starts to cry, and she runs away and locks herself into a bathroom. The writer's trying to knock and get in, and this makes her flashback to when she was hiding in a bathroom, and her husband was trying to get in. He walks away, starts counting, and says she's going to be real trouble if she doesn't come out. She counts, she comes out, she sits on a bed, and he starts trying to bone her, but she does not want it. She does not want to have sex, and he's trying to force her. She scratches him, and he gets real mad, and she runs into the bathroom, and he chases her in there. This is when he has that scene where he's like, I made a vow to myself that you were my bitch, and you would do what I said, whatever I wanted. Well, at this point, she grabs a razor, and she defends herself. She cuts his throat. He falls into the bathtub, throat cut, all that. She turns the shower on to, wash off the body or whatever. And we cut right back to the present. And the writer is able to get into the bathroom, asks for the razor. She hands it to him. And then we see she's sitting in the husband's chair that she always talked to. She is wearing her killer clothes. This is a turtleneck, a sport coat, gloves, the killer's gloves, and she's petting the cat, and she's actually talking to herself. She's talking as if she is her husband, saying, we went too far this time. We're definitely going to be, punished for this, all that. So we can see she is gone. The writer comes up with some police officers, and they arrest her, and they take her away. The couple's driving back, and the wife's like, I can't believe, how terrible that must have been for her. Her husband lived in her head this whole time. The writer's kind of jerking around. She goes, trying to get cigarettes. Here, let me help you. She goes to one of his pockets, but she pulls out the razor blade. The writer gives a creepy-ass smile, sees the boy waving goodbye on the side of the road. He does a creepy wave there, but they wave. And she's still staring at him, and roll credits.
Okay, I know she gives him the razor and he must have put it in his pocket or whatever and he still had it. Yeah. But the creepy smile that he gives at the end that now he has the razor, I mean, it's really bizarre. And then the way he looks at the kid and then smiles after all that weird interaction that they had, and the way the kid smiles back at him and then the wave back and forth, like it just feels like there's something more on the horizon about to happen that's pretty awful, and it involves him coming back for this kid.
Can you give me my impression of it?
Yeah, go right ahead.
It's going to be weird. I think this guy just has a creepy face. So every smile he gives looks creepy. And we're in a creepy moment because he's holding that that razor. But what I think actually happens is this. He did have intense writer's block. This whole thing has given him a whole new book to write. And so when she has the razor blade, he's smiling because he has his story. Then he sees the kid waving, and he waves at the kid goodbye because, you know, the kid and him were friendly with one another. I get it. His face is fucking creepy. I think that's just his fucking face, unfortunately. But I think he's smiling because he's got his next book, where he didn't know where that book was going to come from. That's why he left home. He had all his bullshit friends who did nothing but kiss his ass, and he couldn't figure out a story to figure out. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. He had no more inspiration. He was tapped dry of fucking ideas, and now he has one.
And everybody was just telling him everything he came up with was fucking brilliant, and he knew it was shit, and he had to get away from them.
And he knew it was going to be shit, and like that he would fail. And he also knows he has no real friends. They're all glad-handers, which means when that whatever he was writing that they thought was great inevitably failed, they'd all go away. You know, he knew he could only trust himself, and that's probably why he tried to get away. His wife also, as you said, and I agree with you, she doesn't care about the writer, she just loves the man. Well, then she doesn't really care about his career either, or what makes a good book, that kind of shit. So
no, she'll just tell him what he wants to hear because she wants to love him and support him.
Exactly. So he knew he had to get away, and now he has this story. And I still think a lot of his disturbing looks while being in the hotel was because it wasn't helping him. He wasn't getting a story. And the reason they didn't want to leave, because he felt so real there, is because it was actually the exact opposite. It wasn't real for him. And the longer he stayed away from the city, the longer he had to forget that he has this tremendous writer's block. And maybe not even writer's block. He has a story, but it wasn't a good story. It wasn't going to make a good book, and he knew it. And the longer he stayed away, the more he didn't have to face that reality. But now he can head back, smile on his face, because he knows he has a banger of a fucking story ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is going to make for one hell of a story, and he actually lived it, so, I mean, he can really milk it for all it's worth for promotion and things like that. But I feel like he did go out here for some kind of a story, and the reason he kept engaging with the woman the way that he was is because he was actually going to, because he even tells her eventually that he could write a story about her, you know, at one point when he's trying to cheer her up, and I think he's been doing that all along. I think he broached the subject to try and see if it would be okay to do.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right.
Yeah. And that's why I just feel like maybe somebody, like the directions that were at the beginning that I thought was a woman's voice, I thought it was like his publisher telling him about this weird, awful experience she had staying at this hotel out in the middle of nowhere. And he's going to basically get that, like a bit of inspiration, you know, go stay there too and see what jars him loose, or see what kind of weird story he can tell, or just weird character flaws he can, you know, make note of that he can add to other characters or something like that. I feel like that's why he went there initially. And then I just feel like this mystery and the murder that happened, the more that it unraveled, because he just basically stumbles into it at the back half of the film. Like he totally is unaware of it, and blissfully so, of things that are going on. But he just kind of stumbles onto something more sinister happening. And it's about the time that his wife gets there that really he starts to really suspect something. I mean, he does find blood in the hallway, but he just kind of shakes it off as to something else because like it's like really diluted and it doesn't quite look like blood anymore. It just kind of touches it and it's like it's like this brownish, blackish shit where it just looks like the floor didn't get cleaned right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. But I mean, yeah. And like I said, I think you're exactly right on all these fronts. But I think that's why he has that fucking bullshit smile when he's leaving. It's the fact that he now can continue his career.
Well, of course, that's what the filmmakers are intending it to be, but it doesn't feel like that at all when you're watching it. You just get even more creeped out by the guy.
What it doesn't help is that every smile that guy gives is a creepy fucking smile because he's got a creepy fucking face.
And I feel so horrible saying that, but he does. He just creeps me out so bad.
Yeah, he's just, no, I don't like it saying it either, but I'm just spitting straight facts here, right?
My only hope is that this gentleman has already passed on so that he never hears us talk about him like this.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. I mean, that motherfucker was...
He was old when they made this.
He was old when they made this, and I wasn't even born yet. And I'm old now, so fuck.
Oh, yeah. Decades ago. Yeah, he's been gone for a while. We're good. We don't have to worry about hurting his feelings.
No, his fifis are well turned to dust by now.
Yeah, and if people find him attractive, then I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings.
How about this? we didn't hurt your feelings because we're not judging your attraction for him. If that's what you're into, listen, man, I ain't here to yell at you about it. Just not for me.
Not really a murder mystery in this film. It feels more like what we really have is basically what we got with Psycho, where you know what's happening the entire time. You know who the killer is the entire time. Although in Psycho, the first time you watch it, you obviously don't know exactly.
Yeah.
You just know that it's someone in the house. And there's no way that it could be the old lady, even though they keep making you think it's supposed to be the old lady.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's kind of more along the lines of, not such a murder mystery. It's who's going to be left alive. Like, who's going to survive this?
Yeah, and there are still...
It's more of what this is.
There are still gialli that I would say have that for their framework for their possible murders as well. We definitely have the, not necessarily perverse, but definitely have the severe sexual situations that are happening in the film. There are definitely some risque things, like the guy taking a prostitute out for the weekend to pay her to pretend to be his mistress. I'm sure that had some kind of connotation negative towards him at the time for doing such a thing.
Yeah, of course.
I could definitely do without all of the fucking sexual assault and the physical abuse that happens. I get that we needed to establish what caused this woman to be as violent as she does end up becoming. But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like a lot of that was trying to basically sell that as titillation and sexual situations as well. And it's just fucking straight up rape, which is the opposite of sexual.
Yeah, exactly. Way opposite. So, yeah. And that was the rough scenes were rough to watch, man.
Yeah, well, like I said before, it does end up in giallo, and unfortunately sexual assault ends up being a motivation for revenge for crimes sometimes in some giallo as well, and sometimes your hero just fucking jokes about raping a woman too, because that happens in Strip Nude for Your Killer. And then sometimes I think your hero is about to go do it right at the end of the film too, like in Strip Nude for Your Killer.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's gross. I'll probably make sure you never watch that.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I am going to cover it someday, I'll make sure I cover it with somebody else and give you a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the actual filmmaking itself is really excellent. All of the outdoor shots when they're in the pastoral strolls or on the lake or any of that stuff looked incredible. The exterior of the building looked great. It's just that god-awful room that we spend so much time in with the paneling. The sex scenes were actually pretty risque and erotic for Franco's Spain at the time, even though they were shot for an external market, obviously. But man, there was some serious male nudity in this film. You're gonna watch him complain about how he can't come as he shakes that ass in your face on screen.
Yeah, he's get perma-hard problems. So
yeah, and while the story definitely has some things that we definitely had some issues with, they do enough other interesting things and try to attempt some other parts of the story with it that I found it really kind of redeeming, that I was just like, yeah, you gotta get over the fact that it's an obvious Psycho ripoff for the most part, but they hang some other stuff to it. And you know, I give De Palma a break for all the stuff he steals from fucking Hitchcock, so why not give Klimowski and this crew a little break? You definitely feel the budget in this too, where they're spending so much time in certain rooms and everything like that as well. But when they do spend the money, they spend it really well. And I really did enjoy this film, and it was a nice surprise. And hey, it's just another one of those forgotten Giallo box set entries for our Giallo January. And I would say, yeah, it's still a pleasant surprise so far. So 2 for 2 as we go.
Yeah, 2 for 2 as we're going.
Oh, I also decided to add an extra week. So, like, I know January is not going to have one of the weeks, but we're actually recording on a day that's still in January. It just won't come out till after January.
Oh, okay.
So
there you go.
Yeah, Giallo January is going to leak into February a little bit.
Giallo February.
All Giallo all the time. No, there are already podcasts that do that. We can't.
It's Cinema Giallo.
Actually, that was Cinema Diabolica. Man, they were really fucking good at it too.
Of course.
All right, so are we done? We're done talking about this?
We're done.
Yeah. We hit 2 hours. I'm thinking we just call it quits for the night. What do you think?
Let's call it a guy. We can save more news for next time, maybe when we don't go into stuff so much.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of stuff to unpack in the film as well.
There's way more than last week.
Yeah, and we
to go into.
We definitely have a lot of fucking shit that we need to talk about NFTs in the news, because there's a lot of NFT news that made it into our group, thankfully.
Yes. So that's good.
We'll just tickle the balls for that for next week. Howling Wolf we won't get to have on the Pirate Radio edit, so we're just going to go right into the Ending Legion promo, and right after that, we'll have Infected by Bad Religion.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Helming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Go Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick Six Movies, the podcast by the Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, Two Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.
I didn't think Infected would feel as dark as it fucking did after doing the review, but it certainly fucking does, because it really does fit in with the discussion of the shit that was happening in this movie.
Holy shit, a song that I've actually heard before. Look at that.
Yeah, a song that I'm sure I have played for you before as well, because I definitely, I probably played that Bad Religion song way more fucking times than I should have in my lifetime, including on this show. If you'd like to find the other 334 previous instances where I've played Infected by Bad Religion on this show, I haven't. I'm just making a segue. That would be available at our main landing and or launching page, legionpodcast.com/cinema-psyops-podcast. That's a really lot to say in one breath. But yeah, I honestly don't think I've ever actually played Infected on the show before, but I know I have played that at least for you before.
But I've heard that song before too, even before you, or even before like you playing it for me.
Well, yeah, Bad Religion was like fucking everywhere, so I mean, that's not hard to do.
Yeah. There you go.
Well,
if I've heard of it and I've heard of that song, then I'm sure like everyone else has heard of that song.
Everybody and their brother and their sister.
That's right, because I don't go searching for music. It has to be put in front of me.
Quite literally. And you can find our memes on Instagram. I'm not even going to fucking segue. I'm just going to say it. You can find our memes on Instagram, cinema_psyops.
Our memes. Being the relative word. Everyone, memes are for the people, comrades.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they have any other kind of intrinsic value, like they're unfungible or some bullshit. I mean, you can just screenshot them and take them.
Yeah, pretty much. Just, I mean, hey, everyone, welcome to the fucking meme party, I guess.
Yes, and if you would like to get on my case for using the word fungible once again and taking pot shots at NFTs once again when we didn't even do the news, but I'm teasing the balls about how we're gonna do NFT news eventually, you can tweet at me that whole entire weird-ass diatribe that I don't even know where I was going with it.
Yeah, what the hell were you talking about it?
On the Twitter.
But that's enough dick teasing, all right? To the fucking point.
I'm at Cort_psyop. I got stuck in a loop and I had to wait till I came back around to get off.
All right, I mean, hey, can we stop talking about dick teasing and getting off and just fucking get to the point?
Well, one of the places you actually can probably talk very openly about dick teasing and getting off is our Facebook group, Cinema Psyops, but be careful how you phrase it, because we don't want you to get sucked.
Yeah, because you could get sucked pretty good.
Yeah, we won't judge you. As long as everything you're doing is talking about with people with consent and all of that kind of shit, we won't judge you. Just, make sure you wash your hands afterwards. But
yeah, right.
Facebook tends to be prudes.
So that's just health for health purposes.
Yeah, but Facebook tends to be prudes about stuff. So just don't get sucked is all we're saying when you're in our Facebook
they're all
group.
Pieces of shit.
And that's where our memes show up there, by the way, is also in the Facebook group. I also share it to my main timeline, Cort Psyops, or you could just follow or like the page Cinema Psyops, I guess, and that's you'll get the memes right away then.
Yeah, you'll definitely get those memes right then and there.
And if all of this is completely confusing to you, also you have no idea what the fuck is going on, and all you ever really want to do is type up an email, I'm available at cinemapsyopscort@gmail.com.
You are readily available for all those things.
And while you're out there trying to figure out exactly what those things are that Cort is readily available for, kick the fuck out of this weekend, make it your bitch. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
All right, go ahead and start recording on your side then.
I am recording. 1, 2, 3. Everything is coming through the blue snowball microphone thingamajig.
Waveform looks good then?
Yeah, waveform looks great.
All right, I'm going to have to put on my fucking game face when we actually start the show. I'm having a really fucking shit day. I'm in a really bad fucking mood. So this is going to be acting of epic fucking proportion, and when people finally hear this shit, they're gonna think that I'm setting this up, that it's a fucking work, that there's no way that I could turn it on and pretend like I was this fucking happy for the show.
I was going to say, man, you don't sound so great. I'm in a good mood for once this time around.
Yeah. Well,
my day actually went right a little bit.
Yeah, no, literally everything. I mean, I skinned a chunk out of my hand on my ring finger carrying fucking cardboard today. It's been that kind of day.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be that kind of day. Last night, I was taking out some trash. We've had 4 people in this fucking house. 5 adults, really, because is an adult now. And so we have an exorbitant amount of trash. And I was taking it all out last night right before bed. And I kind of just flipped my shoes on, didn't really secure them, just fucking face planted out on my concrete stairs and just took it all right on my right knee. And I thought today was going to be the shits. And actually, believe it or not, my knee's fine. And for once, work actually didn't try to actively fuck me into oblivion. So I was like, hey, look at all that.
Well, to quote the immortal words of Christian Bale before we start the show, oh, good for you!
Don't worry. I'm almost under the impression that tomorrow's gonna double fuck me at work.
Fuck, life just wants to double fuck you every other fucking day.
It really does. And listen, if you want to DP me, that's fine, but fucking get my consent.
I'm just starting it there. Is
that gonna be a clip?
No, it'll be an outtake.
You should have already realized.
That's how little of a shit I'm giving right now.
Dude, I did do one thing. Bought me a brand new gamer chair, desk chair, so I can sit comfortably now without noises.
Well, that's sweet of him.
takes off his driving gloves, because why wouldn't you have driving gloves? Do you ever feel like you want to buy a pair of driving gloves for like a long drive?
I have driven for a long time, and I have never really wanted to be wearing gloves during that time.
Me neither. I wonder why that was a thing back then.
It's still a thing for some
Driving
people
gloves.
too. Like driving gloves are a thing for
Yeah.
people. They really are. But it's never been my thing per
Never
se.
my thing either. Yeah, I don't know. I never need gloves to drive. Like even like in the winter when it's cold and I'd get in the car and even the car's freezing. I was like wearing gloves going out to the car. I take the gloves off to drive. For some reason I need to feel my flesh on the steering wheel. Like I feel like I have more control that way. I don't know.
See, I don't need that if I need to keep my hands warm. But yeah, otherwise I just have never really had a drive for driving gloves. However, when I was a kid, like 7, 8 years old, I needed those fingerless biker gloves whenever I would ride my bicycle.
Well, of course. That means you're badass. Have you never seen every other goddamn middle school kid movie where the kids ride their bikes and the badass one always has the fingerless gloves?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I needed them.
Of course. Hold on. No. Sorry. Jesus. Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, we've seen Memories within Miss Aggie. We know how this is going to go. Only without
Yeah,
the pornography, unfortunately.
Well, that's sad. Why do you have to break that for me already?
I mean, they get close. It gets pretty softcore in this film.
It does get pretty softcore. They don't skimp you on a lot of shit. So, you're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, you even get a couple inches of neck in a couple of scenes.
Yeah, a couple inches so that necking.
All right,
Much
so
like any giallo, something that seems to be something that's related to things going on in the movie, but the movie will never touch upon it.
Yeah, abandoned threads are very giallo. You are not wrong.
I mean, that is the one thing of watching giallos. The whole time I've watched giallos is this. Never try to concentrate on something that you think is going to become important in the movie, because it's just most likely probably fucking not. It's probably just gonna be its own fucking thing. It was just there. It's almost like the movie, by the end of it, it's the movie director's telling you, oh, fuck it, you nerd, don't look so much into it, alright? Just enjoy yourself, dick.
That's often the case. You are correct, but there are a handful of gialli, and if I know that they are one of them, I will give you a warning of no, you need to obsess over the details. It will be important.
I still do obsess over the details. I know exactly what you were talking about. I always keep them in the back of my head, waiting to write about them. It just I've never had to. He even walks like a pedophile.
Wait,
he literally.
There's a specific walk?
Yeah, he looks like especially when he's walking fast, it looks like someone walking away after they realize somebody hacked into the laptop. I don't know, I better get out of here.
Oh, so he scurries off in such a manner as if he is going to do life in prison if he doesn't move fast enough?
Yeah, exactly. He's going to have to register at some registry. Because let's face it, the American justice system doesn't put pedophiles away forever. They put away people who do weed forever, but not pedophiles. Especially if they're white.
You're not wrong, you're just out of line.
I'm not wrong, I'm just an asshole.
Right, same. I love the phrase over the pants hand stuff. Shit like that does not exist outside of junior high anymore.
It really doesn't, but apparently it does in this fucking movie.
Hey, I mean, over the pants hand stuff happens, but you don't really categorize that as anything other than that's just foreplay or heavy petting, as you said.
Yeah, that's leading to something. But yeah, junior high, that was your whole night, man.
Yeah, you needed
to over the pants hand stuff. That's just like you having the best night ever.
Yeah, you have to qualify that that's exactly what it was. Over the pants hand stuff.
I got over the pants hand stuff, and depending on what grade you're in, your buddies are like, "Fucking good for you, dude." Excellent. Everything's headed in the right direction.
And also depending upon how good of friends they actually are, regardless of your age.
Yeah. Because if they're really, really good friends, they'll still mock you relentlessly for it and then leave. They'll say something like, she felt what was in the pants over the pants and just ended it there. Yeah, understandable. And then walk away from you and leave you dejected and crying. I don't have any good friends.
Yeah, I was going to say, your definition of good friends is pretty fucked, my man.
I don't know what it means.
Clearly not.
Jeez.
Wow. Can you phrase that a little less, pig-headed like?
I don't think so. How do you say she?
Yeah, just stop right now. It's only going to get worse for you. Let's just move on.
Let's just move on. Let's pretend that never happened.
Oh no, it's going out into the world.
Oh, well, all right. Anyway.
Wow, you just dropped out on that real fast.
Okay. What am I going to do? You run Bartertown. What am I supposed to do?
You could have said, please don't, if you really don't want it to.
Please don't.
All right, but I'm including everything else except for the horrible thing that you said.
Awesome.
By the way, the couple inches of neck I was referring to was in their sex scene. When he gets on top of her, there's a moment where the actor rolls over enough and you see about an inch or two of dick neck.
Jesus. Well, there you go. I didn't see that, but you're on a projection screen, so.
Totally.
I saw everything.
Of the 2 inches or so of dick neck that were there.
Ah, Jesus Christ, it's like a tot's worth. Fuck, I just got lost making that joke.
While you're out there trying to figure out exactly what those things are that Cort is readily available for, kick the fuck out of this weekend, make it your bitch. That was a great simultaneous head there.
Usually it's just dick teasing.
I didn't say you got to repeat yours.
Aw.
And I'm still in a shit mood.
Oh, damn. And I've stopped recording that.